hockey friends and families around the world, and welcome back to another edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. It's Lee Elias with Mike Benelli today. You know, friends, at the end of every episode, I always say, if you have a question or a comment or a thought, you can email us, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com, or use the link in the episode description, tap on it, and you can text us and send us a message. Well, today is a mailbag episode. Dun, 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 dun. We don't have any high-level music to put in there, so that was the best I could do. But yeah, Mike and I are here today. We've got multiple questions we picked from the mailbag that we're going to ask and respond to, and remind all of you, if you ever have questions, this show is so much run by you. Feel free to contact us at any time, and we will get back to you. But Mike, let's jump right into it. This first one comes from Dennis from Brooklyn, New York. I'm going to read it out loud. My 10U son plays for a AAA team in Northern Jersey. That's New Jersey for those of you outside the East Coast. I truly cannot afford it. I believe he can play at a lower level and still progress, but I'm afraid he may lose favor with the program if he drops out after the season. It's a great program that's only 10 minutes from my home. My thought would be that he'll try out again at the 14U level. Hopefully, I will be able to finance at that time with proper financial planning. I'm sure that I'm not the first person to experience this. Dennis, you're not. He loves the sport and loves his teammates who will continue to play. What should I do? P.S. The local high school does not have a hockey team, so club hockey is his only option. Mike, this is and Dennis, this is probably more of a common problem than you think, because AAA Tier 1 hockey is far too expensive. But Mike, why don't we jump into your thoughts first?
Yeah, so nobody can really afford it. It's like you know, there's levels of what are you willing to sacrifice on some ends, but some people can sacrifice everything and still not be able to pay some of these bills. I mean, so, you know, I guess let me just approach the question of falling out of favor. I personally don't think that really happens. I don't think, it's not like, the players saying, oh, the team's terrible, I've got to get out of here. I'm going to go 3 hours away to another team because the grass is greener. So falling out of favor at the organization, I think there's still levels of the fact that if you're a player that can contribute and you're somebody that's should be on the team based on merit, you're going to be fine as you go through the evaluations. Now, I will say, depending on the organization, sometimes, people get into these niches, right? You have the coach, you have the 15 core players, nobody leaves. It is hard to break into some of these smaller organizations like that. But for the most part, like falling out of favor with an organization, unless you've thrown a garbage can on the ice or something, doesn't happen very often. As far as the cost goes, Dennis is absolutely right. I mean, it is outrageous, absurd. It's sad, actually. I mean, like I said, I was joking around, but nobody really can afford hockey. It's not. You have to. If you have the money to do it, you can do it, and at various levels. But I think this whole AAA version of what we've become is very, very difficult. And if you can find an organization that's less expensive, follows my rules of 12U hockey, which is no bridges, no tunnels, no tolls. New Jersey's hard to do that because every other road is a bridge,
right?
but if you're in Pittsburgh or something. So, but I think if you can put yourself in a situation where you find the best aspect for your kid to thrive, and then reinvest or look at the ROI and say, well, okay, I'm saving a lot of money here. I'm going to be spending my money here. I can reinvest in money here. Like now you can start juggling and finding ways. And again, getting better at hockey doesn't cost money if you know how to do it off the ice.
Right. I agree with you on so many points. I'm just going to say it again. He's referencing 10U AAA, which I'm not going to say shouldn't exist, but at 10U, I mean, look, it's so much more about the experience than it is about the outcome. I mean, that's true at every level, but I'm going to echo what you just said, Mike, and the fact that, look, we say this on the show all the time. You can't create a love for a game. You can only cultivate it. Dennis, I believe just from your message, your kid has a love for the game. Allow that to take him through. All right. And I say this to parents all the time. If your kid's not outside on the street, in the basement, in the garage, wherever your little home hockey setup is, shooting the 1,000 pucks a day, turning the net to get different angles, puck handling nonstop, because they're driven. I don't know what's going to happen, right? And again, I always say this too. If they're not doing that, that's okay as well. Like there's no right way. The point I was trying to make to parents, Mike, is that internal drive is not something that a AAA program is going to create, a AA program is going to create, a B program is going to create. Your kid has to create that. And again, you can cultivate it. And there's no right or wrong age where that has to happen.
Yeah, and I think you could beat it out of a player too. I mean, emotionally, like I think you could. Right. I think you could. That sometimes trying to reach for this AAA thing. Like I have this experience all the time with parents. Like the parents that have the money or don't care about the parental entertainment for the weekend by going to another tournament or going to another hotel or getting on a flight. Like I'm like, do you take in consideration like the fact that there's other people that play, like that these other people have other children in their family that, I used to joke around when as a hockey director, and I, send a note out and I'd wonder why I didn't get immediate responses. And then I just realized like not everybody sits at a desk on their phone all day. Like, I'm like, what do you mean you're out on up on a telephone pole? Or what do you mean you're digging, a trench for an electrical outlet? Or, I don't understand how you do these other things. Like, What do you mean your office doesn't allow you to take personal phone calls during the day? Who does that? So I think we fall into this world that on Saturdays when we see everybody in the rink that we're all created equal, and we're not. And you got to understand that when you're building these organizations. So and again, 10U, 12U, 8U, there is no AAA hockey. It really isn't. There's no elite hockey. And just be in a place where your son or daughter loves being at the rink. You love the coaching staff, guiding your kid. And then, you can figure it out from there. It doesn't have to be expensive. We just make it expensive.
Absolutely. I mean, look, one of the biggest plights in our game is we're pricing people out of the game horrendously. Everyone listens to this show knows that. It's not something that we stand for, but it's the unfortunate reality right now. The other thing I want to say too is this, when I do talk to people that go tier 1 AAA at the younger ages, which I got to keep saying this, we're not crapping on it. It's not that in terms of like the competition. Like I do agree as a coach to a point, better competition can help breed better players. But, and there's a huge but here, when you're under 12 years old, it's all relative, right? A AAA player at 11 does not mean you're going to be a AAA player at 18 any more than a B player at 11 means you're going to be a B player at 18, right? The AAA matters later on to a point, like I said, right? If you're trying to play collegiate hockey or junior hockey or go beyond, you want to play at the highest level possible when you're 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. Okay, I don't disagree with that. But here's the thing, all right? And I got to preface this. Every single kid is different with what I'm about to say, all right? The thing that no coach, no program can put into your kid is that drive. All right. I get every parent. Oh, my kid loves hockey. My kid loves hockey. I believe you. And I'm trying to tell you that there's a difference between loving hockey and being driven in hockey or in anything. All right. And I'm saying that the kid who's 12 years old, not making the team that they want to make, and that drives them into that practice, into that going to the rink and finding ways to get better. That is a diamond in the pressure that if you play at the highest level all the time, you may not get. You also may. I think the point I'm trying to make, Mike, is that we have so much. We have this thinking of, well, if I don't get to the best team possible, that's not the right path. There's no path. The path is if you love hockey and you as a child, I'm not talking about you parents, if you as a kid want this enough, you'll put the time in. All right. And the top level kids, in terms of kids that are trying to play beyond high school, are doing that. And I got to say it again. It's okay if you don't. It's okay just to go out there and have fun and enjoy it. So back to Dennis's question, Mike, I don't think there's anything wrong with your kid playing on a different team closer to home for less money. I think he's going to excel there as well. I don't think it's going to hurt his progress. It may help his progress, right? But every situation is different.
I mean, I can't imagine out of the thousands of people that are in these organizations that every single one of them wants to drive their kid to be a pro hockey player. I
agree. Yeah.
I think there's, I have like zero. Like that's not even in the ballpark. Like I'm like, well, that's something that they can do and they will do if they want to do it. But the the goal should be being in a great environment,
right,
and learning and having fun. And if you're getting better, you know what? Listen, and I think we probably I get skewed by this too, because I like to coach. I think that kids getting better and competing is a mark of a good coach. Like I think somebody that's inspiring kids to want to get better and show improvement. Like I think that is a good mark of a good coach. But there are so many kids out there that don't care. Like they don't really care about getting better. They're just like, I don't know, I just want to have fun. Like I don't care about that system. Like that doesn't affect me. Or they don't care about, you know, not being the first line centerman. They don't care. They just want to be a part of something.
Well, maybe that's the advice.
And when we keep saying you have to develop, you have to get better, you have to compete, you have to get better than the next kid, I think we start driving kids actually away
how about
from
this?
The meaning of sport.
Let's make this actionable, okay, for the purposes of the question. You know, I think the first thing that you're bringing up that we got to suggest, Mike, is like have this conversation with your son or daughter in the sense of what's the motivation, right? And here's the thing, like, Dennis, this is a great question, but follow me here.
Oh yeah, so many layers too.
Yeah, but here's the thing: your kid's playing AAA, right? What is it about AAA that they don't want to leave? Is it really the high level talents and competition, or is it his friends? And both of them are understandable answers. But I'd say 80% of the time, Mike, it's I don't want to leave my friends, right? And what did we used to hear when we were growing up? You'll make new friends, and that's true, and that's part of the human experience. So I think the first thing is asking your kid. Don't lead the question. It says the parents. Don't try and get the answer you want. Ask them, what's bothering you about potentially leaving this organization? All right. And again, Dennis, I know you mentioned financial issues. If it's not in the cards financially, that's the decision, right? You got to survive. Mike, I think you made another great point too, is when it comes to the camaraderie and it comes to the people you're around, it's like, what type of environment do you want to be in? What type of people do you want to be around? How do you want to grow? You know, the other piece of advice I have here, and I love that you mentioned, you know, kind of the role of the coach and the motivation of the coach. When I got a grip, you know, a while back on, wow, I really love helping people become the best versions of themselves. Suddenly it didn't matter what level I coached at. Now I do have levels I prefer, don't get me wrong. All right. But at the same time, when I'm coaching an elementary school team or a national team, the approach to, I want to help you become the best version of yourself doesn't change because they're 8 or 18 or 28. Right. And I think that parents need to realize that too. You want to go to an environment where your kid's going to be able to evolve, not just as a hockey player and as a person. Now, the questions that I ask, Mike, and this is a great point that you made with my own kids. I can only use them as an example. Like I said it before, I never try and lead them to the answer I want. If my son or daughter is frustrated, and that's if they're frustrated, not me being frustrated. My daughter, I'll give you a great example. My daughter is very much just enjoying being there and around the people. And while she's excelling from a hockey standpoint, I can tell it's all about the people for her. She just wants to have a good time with her friends, and I'm understanding of that. Whereas my son, a little more analytical, a little more of the chess player, has said to me, well, I want to get better at this. So again, we have a lot of resources in my family in hockey. But the question I ask is, well, what are the things you can do to get better? I need him to own that answer. All right. I can provide the resources, but he's got to own the question and the answer of, well, okay, you're a goaltender. You want to get better at this. What are some of the things you can do? I need him to answer that, because if I answer it for him, I'm not really helping him learn or grow. All right, I'm just giving him stuff to do. All right. Now, if he says, I want to work on my glove hand, and these are some of the things, and we get into a good discussion, now it's a discussion, but he owns the discussion. And I think parents, and again, every situation's different. We talked about, Dennis, you bringing up your financials. That is a different part of this conversation. That's a conversation as well. All right. But when it comes to the kid's development, let your kid somewhat lead that journey. All right. And if they're going the wrong path in your mind, then parent, to the best of your ability. But it's got to be their path. They got to own that journey. Parents, when you own the journey, they burn out. And Mike, you and I have seen that at 15, I'm sure, so many times. Kid doesn't want to be there. Dad or mom is all over them. And the journey's done. They're not going to do anything because they hate going to the rink, or they hate being at the rink with that oversight.
Yeah, and hate's a strong word too, because I don't know if all the kids hate it. They just like there's other things to do. Like yeah, I like it, but I'll miss like like right now, like again, if you're, it depends on where you're at with your kid. I mean, listen, if your kid loves his friends and all his friends are going to the Yankee Met Subway Series game, and you have a spring league game, and he decides he wants to go to the game, like, okay, great, who cares? Like it's like, oh my God, all my friends. Okay, then we've heard countless stories of NHL players and high level players that because the parents allowed them to do those other things, because those parents allowed them to have the freedom of making decisions on their own, drove them back to the sport.
Right. Chris Therien, he took a year off at 15. That is probably the most important developmental year.
Right. And again, people should preface the fact that probably the guy was probably the best athlete in his age group within a 50-mile radius.
But the point still stands that he took a year away from hockey. He had a full NHL career.
We all hang out with people that you look at it every day, like in adult league, and you're like, my God, did you play like pro hockey? Nah, I played, I stopped playing when I was 19, and the guy's like best player on the ice. Yeah. Like, so it's a matter of just everybody's journey is different. Everybody's motivations are different. If your son is a 10, then maybe the motivation should be, you better have a blast. And everything will come back around if he's.
Well, and how about you're gonna have a blast?
So many things when you talk about like the financial piece. There's so many things you can do for free to become a better hockey player. That all of a sudden, like I use the example a lot with the kids I work with. Like you can, like if you really want, like I'm working with a young defenseman right now, and one of the things I'd say to the dad, and again, I realize I'm in like la la land, but the dad's concerned about his stride. I'm like, well, this is his stride. Like, this is what he looks like. If you really want to change it, like if you really want to make it better and make it more efficient and put him in the best situation possible, then you got to take him out of hockey for 3 months. Like if you really want to do it, then take him out of hockey for 3 months and build his structure, build his cadence, build his strength, build all those things that are going to give him the base to now be a great skater, which I think he could be because he's a good athlete, but you won't. Why? Because you think he's falling behind. You think it's not the way to go, but in fact, that is the way to go. So it all is a matter of, but if you're Dennis, right, and you're a parent like this, sometimes the best route is to not go the same route. And it's to say, I'm going to do something different. I'm still going to allow my son and put him in a great hockey situation, but he's going to all of a sudden emerge when he's 14U. Because he did all these other things that all the other kids aren't doing because they're trying to catch up the wrong way. So you really have to believe. And again, I come from a different world. I come from a world of watching this happen every day. So when I speak to a parent of a 10, 11, 12-year-old, they look at me like, well, what the hell do you know? Like, you don't know what you're talking about because all the other experts have my kid playing, for this AAA team 7 days a week. I understand that, but are they experts? Are they have the best interest in your son or daughter's athletic success? Because most don't. Most are like, well, if you don't get better, it's not my problem. I cut you and I'll get a new kid. Most don't have, and we've said this a million times on the show, right? You really want to be a great developer? Pick a kid at 8 and force him to stay with you till he's 12. Right. And let's see really who develops who.
Well, and look, final note on these questions, or this question.
I thought this was a 5-minute question.
Well, this is the long question today. Look, this is what I'm going to say too, and I probably should have said this earlier. I think there's a broader conversation that needs to happen over the life skills that you learn in hockey, not the destination in hockey. And I think it's so important parents and players have a real grip on that. The game is a vehicle for your growth as a person. All right. So the good, the bad, the ugly, the great, it's all life lessons at the end of the day. No matter what you do, if you have a 20-year NHL career, it's still life lessons, right? Yeah. So I think that's the key here. And, in this question, there's a lot of life lessons about financials, about having to make new friends, about having to change teams because of that, the adversity involved with that. There's a tremendous amount of life lessons there. And I think when we talk about coaching our kids and this is hard as a parent, is exposing your children to those lessons, and especially the hard ones, the adversity, the tough stuff, the you can't do it this year. Like that stuff's more valuable than any hockey skill we're going to teach. And again, the great people, not just athletes, are really hardened in that adversity. And that's what gets them to push through. So I think kind of broadly, again, there's a lot of adversity in this situation. Embrace it. All right. And the last piece of advice I have is keep yourself present where your feet are, where your skates are. The part of this question, he'll try it again at 14U. Look, if the kid's talented enough, they'll make the team. I mean, I don't know how to break that to parents. If your kid is that talented and they're good enough to make the team, they will always make the team. All right. Someone will get cut. You'll find a place for them to play. Okay. Yeah. That's the harsh reality of it. Cause Mike just said it too. If I get a superstar coming in, I'm going to take that player. All right. Within reason, obviously, good attitude, good family and things like that. But I wouldn't be going into 12U or 10U with 14U in the back of your mind. That's my last piece of advice. If you're going to be a 10U or 12U, Dennis, wherever your kid's going, be there. Be with that team. Because if you start planting the seed of, well, we'll try it again in 14U, you're essentially telling your kid, well, we don't want to be here. I'm just here stopping by. That's not going to create a great teammate. That's not going to create a great person on the team. That's going to create a player who's, I'm only here. I'm only stopping by. And I'll tell you right now, the ability to learn how to buy into a coach's system, buy into a situation, be where your skates are. That's a real big skill for later on of understanding roles and understanding where you belong, not just in hockey. I always use my own experience. I played for more B teams than A teams, and I got to go to college and I had a cup of coffee in the minors. All right. There is no direct path. What I did do, and this is me, can only speak for me, is I took 1,000 shots a day in my garage and I was outside every day practicing because I chose to do that. And I love to do that. That's not for everybody. And that's okay. I am not sitting on a pedestal saying that. I'm just telling you that was my path. It doesn't make sense. All right.
Mike, and I did all those same things, and I didn't go anywhere. So I mean, it all depends on.
We're both here, man. Come on, cheers to you.
So it all depends. It all depends on what you want. It all depends on the effort you put in. But you have to be given the talent, and there has to be something in there, that sparks. But at 10, we don't need to worry about that.
I concur with you, my friend. Okay, next question. Charles from Barnstable, Massachusetts says,
I'd like you to actually do these questions in the dialect of the I was really looking for a Brooklyn accent earlier.
I don't know where Barnstable is, but hey, good morning. I love the show. That's New York. They're doing it wrong.
That's up. No, the Barnstable is it's up there.
It's up there. Okay. Well, I'm not going to insult Charles by doing that accent anymore.
No.
I will say that the Boston Red Sox have the best City Connect jerseys in the league. There you go, Boston. That's all you're getting out of me. Hey, good morning. I love the show. My 10-year-old, a lot of 10-year-old parents, my 10-year-old son took a tough hit, got a concussion, and his intensity levels have declined on his shifts. Thoughts? Well, my first thought is to consult a doctor or medical professional and make sure that you get that kid's brain checked out, which I'm sure you've done. But that's my first thing, right, Mike, is make sure you've done all the proper medical procedures here.
Sit out.
Yeah. And then Mike just said the next part. If the kid doesn't look ready, take a break, especially at 10 years old. Just take a break. All right. The intensity levels could decline for multiple reasons. The alarming one might be the kid is still concussed. I'm going to say it again. You need to consult a medical professional immediately. Mike and I are not doctors of medicine. We are hockeyologists. It's a little known doctorate you can only get on this podcast. But the other reason the shifts might have declined is you might be a little scared, right? You get hit in the head, you get your bell rung. You might shy away a little bit. That's why I said just take some time off. Or option 3 is give it time. At 10 years old, 11 years old, 12 years old, they're not hitting yet. They might just need some time there to get confidence back. Maybe talk to the coach, maybe understand that. But yeah, if his intensity levels have declined, I think patience is probably the key here. And making sure, I got to say it a third time, go see a doctor. I mean, triple check. Charles, I'm only assuming that you haven't you haven't said that in here, but go see a doctor. Make sure that his head and brain is okay.
Yeah, I mean, we'll go on the assumption that the kid's in a safe environment and that he's been cheaped out and everything. But I think it all comes down to like the term contact confidence, right? That you're confident in any kind of a contact sport. So, the questions that I would ask are, well, were you playing in a 10U league that allows checking? Like some do. Well, some do. Some I know. Some up in Massachusetts and
really those exist.
Well, yeah, because you have these super leagues, right? That say, well, we're going to have real hockey. Like we're not going to do.
I would never do that to my child.
Like we're going to do real hockey. Like real hockey is checking. Real hockey is body contact. Real hockey is full ice with real nets and And,
that's real hockey.
So again, maybe the question is, are you playing real hockey or are you playing, baby hockey? And then I would say, like, okay, well, then what not only you, but what has the team done to create this contact confidence? Like, what are you doing in practices that allow, like, I didn't see your son get hit, right? So it might be a matter of maybe he put himself in a really bad situation to get hit. Maybe he said, you know what, I love going through deviators and stick handling my head down. And maybe I wasn't aware of what was going on, because the one thing you can't, and this is what I would advise any child, right? The one thing you can't control is the other player. You can control where you go, what space you take, what routes you want to take, where you want to go with the puck. But you can't, like, it's almost like if you don't understand, like, how to protect yourself from getting hit from behind, it's because you can't control the person hitting you from behind doesn't want to hit you from behind.
It's true.
The person doesn't know, like, but you can't control that player's ability to have some kind of thought process that this is really bad. Like, I shouldn't be doing this. And unfortunately, big hits to the head, goalie shots, hits from behind, that affects the player often that hit you as much as the player that got hit. Because mentally, it's like I don't think anybody, there's very few players that go out to try to hurt somebody, like that try to go say, I'm gonna change the momentum
today. When we played, that might have been a little different conversation, but today I agree with you.
Yeah, but that's at 17, 18. I don't recall 9-year-olds going out for blood.
That's fair.
Like, that's fair. So, like, and I don't recall anybody, like, I do, listen, I work with parents every day. They're like, no, my kid's taught. If somebody says something to them, punch them in the face first, and then ask if that's okay. But that's fine. You do what you want to do. That's your parenting. What I'm saying is a 10U player getting his quote unquote bell rung, if he's not hurt, if he's not physically hurt, then it's a matter of rebuilding that contact confidence and say, okay, well, let's look at some video. Let's look at where you were in this situation. Let's look at, how were you protecting the puck? How can you do a better job of making sure that you don't put yourself in a vulnerable position? Some of those things we don't talk about. We always talk about the person that hit us. Because like, oh, that's not fair. That guy did that. But really, we should be saying, well, what did I do to put myself in a situation where I allowed that player to hit me like that? And I don't think that has to be like a, an in-depth, moral conversation. I think it just needs to be a conversation about, well, what kind of positioning you're putting yourself into when you're playing to avoid those big hits.
Yeah, well, I'll say this. I don't know how your kid got the concussion, Charles, but Mike is bringing up some really great points. And that is why USA Hockey and Hockey Canada changed the hitting from 12U to 14U with 2 years of teaching you how to give and also take a hit, because that awareness. The other thing I'm going to talk about, and again, Charles, I hope we answered your question.
Well, real quick though, Lee, to your point about USA Hockey and Hockey Canada. So you got to be really, understanding when you go to a coaching conference with USA Hockey, especially, they talk about body contact a lot. Like they have taken checking out of the game, but not body contact.
Yeah,
it's almost
more
important to teach contact and body positioning and bumping and jockeying for roles on the ice, because that will lead to better understanding of when there is full checking at 14 years old.
100%. And again, for people Mike and I's age, the game from a contact standpoint has changed so much, where even when we watch the NHL now, Mike, you can see it being used as more of a positional tactic than just let's get the gigantic, humongous hit, knock the guy out, that's when we played. But again, using contact as a tactic now is a big deal. Not that there's not still big hits in hockey. It just has evolved as much as the game. Charles, though, I do want to say this too. I always tell parents, when it comes to equipment, there's 2 things do not go low budget cheap on. And the number one item is the helmet. Make sure the helmet is up to standard. Never use a used helmet. That's the one piece of equipment I will consistently buy for my kids. Not every year, but I just make sure that they're up to snuff. If I find out there's a massive advancement in helmet technology, which there is sometimes, that might spawn me, if I have the finances, to go get them another one. I just don't mess with that. The other piece of equipment, believe it or not, is the skates. Now, that doesn't mean go find the most expensive pair of skates. That's not what I'm saying. But get some quality skates for your kid, okay? And as they get older, that becomes more important, all right? But those are the two pieces of equipment. I always say, don't go super cheap on your helmet. Don't go super cheap on your skates. Find something good for your kids there. The rest of the stuff, depending on where you play, it's kind of personal preference. But I can tell you right now, there's no pair of gloves that's going to make your kid score 50 more goals. There is a helmet that lets your kid get a full brain functioning, and there are skates that allow your kids to be a little bit better on the ice. So those are the two. Anything else on concussion talk, Mike? Great question from Charles.
No, I just hope his son's doing better, and
yeah, me too.
And I hope that any player that gets a brain injury like a concussion, just hopefully they understand that toughening it out is not the back in the day you could get a concussion like a guy toughened it out and sucked it out.
It's a shift injury.
And again, I think it all depends on the area you live in and where you grew up and kind of what kind of parenting you might have had. But the bottom line is any shot to the head is a bad. Is not good, and just make sure that they're fully recovered before you jump back on the ice.
Yeah, just quick context on that. I remember when I was in college, I think my sophomore year, I got a massive concussion. Guy cross-checked me in the back of the head really hard. And just to give kind of context, I played one more shift after that because that's what we did back then. It was stupid. We didn't know any better. And then I remember my coach kind of sat me the rest of the game. And I remember, Mike, this is funny. I remember being so mad that he sat me thinking, like, what did I do wrong? And it's like, looking back at it now, it's like, dude, you had a concussion. The guy was looking out for me.
Well, there's a reason why, like, the NHL has concussion, watchers, protocol. Right? Because athletes they want to play.
They want to play.
Like broken bones and cut eyelids and, tears in their Achilles. Like, they want to play. So an athlete, like a competitor, you have to protect them.
Well, how about this? It's funny. I was going to say this like it was recent, but it's actually, I think it might be 15 years ago. Sidney Crosby is actually the one who changed the conversation about this. Early in his career, he had a pretty massive concussion. He basically sat out a year. And man, did people ridicule him? You're a wuss. You're lame. You can't do. I mean, it was ridiculous.
Still carries it.
He does, yeah. And the thing is that look, I'm in Philadelphia. It's not like we have any love for the Pittsburgh Penguins here, okay? But now that I'm older, I have a lot of respect for this guy. He changed the conversation around this, and he essentially said, "This is my brain, and it's not ready to play yet. And I want to play a full career. I don't want to play 5 years and have to leave." Which there was plenty of examples of that from prior to him being there with several NHL athletes that were supposed to be superstars, and were in their own right. But he changed the conversation, and it kind of came out after CTE was a very big talk at that time. And look. I'm just going to say it, that the game has changed in that regard. So, Charles, the fact you asked the question is probably a big deal because, Mike, 20 years ago, no one would have asked that question. It would have been, you're fine, get back out there. Yeah. All right. Last question. This one's going to go quick. This one's from Elm Grove, Wisconsin. I don't have a name because I have to mention this. When you text us through the link, if on our description, if you don't tell us your name, we are not allowed by privacy to see your phone number or take that information without you giving it to us, which is the way we wanted it. So if you ever want to write us a text, just make sure you put in there, this is my name. If you want us to contact you directly, put your email, put your phone number, and we'll do our best. But this person from Elm Grove, Wisconsin says, "Hey guys, I got a copy of the short book of team building activities last year that I was able to use for our squirt team this season, and I feel it really paid off. 3 exclamation points. Thank you. 3 exclamation points. I appreciate that. That being said, I can't find it in my old emails or files, and my daughter's softball coach reached out looking for ideas on how to deal with some issues on one of the teams she coached. I wanted to share the book with her, but I can't seem to find it. Can you send it to me again?" Two things again. I love to send it to you again. I have no contact information for you. So if you're listening out there, Elm Grove, Wisconsin, feel free, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com. Or text us again with your information.
If you know of a team just sitting in a room looking at each other and have no idea what to do, it's probably that person because they don't have a book. There's no way of knowing how to build a team.
Right. Well, this is what I'll say. If you're for the listeners out there, if you're interested in getting that team building book, just email us, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com. We'll get it over to you. I'll be fully transparent. That book leads into a larger book that we will tell you about. That's your choice if you want to get it. Mike, let's talk about the team building book and team building powers a little bit. It's funny because, Mike, this is part of my profession is team building and culture building. The team building book actually for me is always evolving. I'm always adding in new drills all the time. It's probably something I should publish at some point because the drills have grown and grown and grown. But I just saw your Instagram over the weekend, you doing a team building drill that I actually hadn't seen before. Team building, my friends, essential part of your curriculum if you're serious about coaching or building a team at every single age group. I think people who are not doing more than a pizza party at this point are crazy.
Yeah, that's not team building though. That's
not team building. It's a team dinner. All right. And it's
bonding. Listen, that's team bonding.
It's great for camaraderie.
Yeah.
Sure. It's great for camaraderie. But if you think I would say this, if you think a pizza party is going to solve that issue any more than it's going to solve the issue at your place of business, when we're going to do a pizza party. Yeah. Who doesn't love pizza? Team building is a process, and team building creates extreme results, right? We got to find some chemistry. You want to build chemistry, you do it off the ice, and it translates on the ice. All right. But Mike, why don't you? I can see you going to say stuff. I also want to know what that drill was you were doing this weekend. I've never seen that before.
So in full disclosure, I have stolen all of Lee's books.
You borrowed. We're friends here. Where you've borrowed? Come on.
And I try to. So a lot of the stuff I do with multiple teams. That particular team was a current brick team that's going up to the brick tournament. So they do it like a little training camp. So every weekend I do their team building. And what that really is and so I not that I'm running out of things to do, but it depends on what kind of resources you have. Yeah. You're kind of limited to the different things you want to do. Like I would love, like you've got some stuff with like the milk crate stacking, and like there's a lot of things you can do that if you don't have the resources or the time, or in my case, the help, like usually like, so when Mike goes and does team building, it's everybody else's chance to like bolt. Right. So everybody else is like, well, I'm out of here. He's got it. And I joke around like, listen, I can hardly control one child. Right. You want me to control 18
all
kids?
Of them. So
and in my own personal opinion, team building works best with parents and coaches together with the kids at the youth level, because that's the team. The team is not your 18 kids. The team is mom, dad, grandma, whoever's bringing the kids to everything, the coaching staff, and your kids. So let's get that out of the way. So what I was doing this weekend was, I think it's actually, it evolved from a different drill. So we had mom and dad in the stands drill. So so my team building was the kids or the players. There's a bunch of pucks on the ground, and they have to know what puck's theirs, and they have to wear a blindfold. And then in the stands on the wall is mom or dad, and mom and dad have to yell and scream where the puck is and how to get it. But now you have 9 mom and dads screaming and 9 players trying to hear, and they're trying to navigate where their puck is, right? So this evolved into let's see if we can elevate this. And then we just drew a bunch of papers, put the blindfolds on. I was able to get, 5,000 blindfolds from Amazon for $8. And so they throw them away. I mean, that's a whole nother thing. Maybe I shouldn't even mention that, because it pains me to use Amazon for anything. So, but again, get a lot of blindfolds. We wrote numbers 1, 2, 3, 4 on and then different colors, and then the team had a color. And now, so the whole idea of the team building, team bonding, team trust was that, just like what you do and reading your information and the stuff that you put out, like my goal was to get player A to get to know player B better. My goal was to have the red team compete against the blue team. My goal was to see, who can lead and who's a follower. My goal is to see who's the aggressive thinker and who's the it doesn't matter to me. And it's amazing to me every day. And I would challenge anybody at home that's doing any kind of team bonding, team building, team competition, to then overlay the personalities of what you see in these events with the hockey player. And it's amazing to me how close you can start. Like I could right now, I'm pretty good. I could take this team. I could go down the list of 18 players just with the team building activities, and I could have a conversation about the coach of where I think they fit in on a team. Not knowing what their skill level is. Right. No idea about their hockey level. And I'll know which of the 2 goalies is the one that always wants to be in the net. I'll know which of the 2 goalies is the one that said if there was a breakaway and I could only pick one goalie, who would be the one fighting to be that person. I could pick if there was going to be a penalty late in the game for somebody that's really undisciplined, who would it be? It's amazing what team bonding and team building does. So when you people poo-poo the like, I don't have time for team building.
I don't need this yoga. I've heard that.
And I don't need this, and I don't need, and then on top of everything else, it's like, it costs nothing. I had loose leaf paper and like I said, a $9 bag of.
It can be done for nothing. I agree with you.
Be done for nothing, but I think the more important piece is that it is the piece that puts players and bonds players and develop players. And for me as a coach, it is invaluable what it does for me to learn who my players are.
Well, I'll take it a step even further. Mike, you compliment me within that entire statement because you know how much I believe in this stuff, and that to hear you echo it back and that you're using my stuff really means a lot. And I will echo too that this can be done with no budget. All right. Now, if you have a budget, sure, you can go to ropes courses. I've worked with teams where I've actually gotten the military involved. There's a lot you can do with a budget, but without a budget, you can do a lot. So that's the first thing. And you brought up the milk crates. I mean, I stole the milk crates, Mike. I stole them.
Right.
I'm not going to say from where because it's a reputable establishment, but I drove there at night. They were out back. I took them, Mike. I took the milk crates.
I think it's in Wisconsin. It's a Piggly Wiggly. What's out there? There's something
in the south. Piggly Wiggly's in the south.
There's something out there.
Yeah,
Kroger's,
Publix is the south.
Kroger's.
Something like that. Yeah. Here we have the Acme, but that's not.
You could get milk crates anywhere.
You can get milk crates, and if you don't want to steal them, you could probably just go in and ask, and they'll give you a few. That's for a drill in the book. You gotta get the drill to find out get the book to find out the drill.
Right.
But here's the deal. Like, it's funny to me. I still run into parents that think this stuff is worthless, and at this point, I've seen it work so many times that I honestly mean this. There's very little judgment there. It's like, okay, I mean, if you don't believe in it, I'm not going to make you believe in it. I don't need your support with that, but the team believes in it. I'm going to tell you right now, when you get a team, I really believe this. When you get a team with adequate talent, okay, and you bond them, watch the miracles fly, right? Don't get me wrong. If you got a 10U team playing against a 15U team, I don't care how bonded the 10U team is, they're probably not going to win that game because the talent's not appropriate. Right?
No, but they won't quit.
They won't quit.
You know how to make it so they don't quit.
Right. Well, and that brings up my next point. I coach this national team, and I love coaching this team. And we were in a scenario a couple of weeks ago where we were playing top 20 teams in the world, and I know we are probably most likely not competitive enough to win these games. Nobody quit. All right. And now leading into the next tournament, that's kind of a rallying cry. All right. So if your gauge for winning is only the trophy, only the gold medal, which is a gauge. Don't get me wrong. If that's your only gauge, you're missing out. You're missing out. It's not the only thing. All right. Like, winning is defined so many different ways. And I find that when you have multiple ways of winning, not only do you win more often, but you win bigger, bigger, and bigger. So the team bond as a result of team building, if you really want your group to succeed, now and for the future, it's essential. And again, you've got to keep both the micro and the macro goals in your mind. We didn't do our season in review yet. I'm going to do it soon. I was coaching a 10U AA team this year. Didn't win a lot of games. Won about a third of our games. Kids never quit. And I remember, as frustrating as the results were for the coaching staff, I said to them after the season, guys, we don't see it, but we're creating an insane 12U team right now. And that's really our job, is to make sure that they're ready for the next level. And by the way, I've seen the next year's team in some preliminary things. They're really, really, really good. Okay. And will we ever get credit for that? Don't need it. That's not the point. All right. I'm just happy to see it. Right. But that team did team bonding every month consistently. Well, and now we've got great people coming out of the program. It's important.
I think that's a great point. That team building doesn't happen one weekend in August.
Happens over 18 years.
it could happen. It could happen like as a cool thing to do, right? Like, I know, like, for my players, they all know, like, hiking Torn Mountain with a 90-pound rock, and accomplishing a goal with, like, all these other parameters and stories and history, and they remember. I can tell you right now, most of my players will remember those hikes and what we did more than any game during the season. It's
that's a great point.
And I always have the parents come on those with us. And like, I don't need you helping. I don't need you supervising. I just need you watching. Watch your own kid. Like, see how your kid reacts, see what they do. And I think that for this woman or man or whoever it is, it could be a bot in Wisconsin that says they want the book. Just know that it's not a 3-lesson goal. It's like you got to build this in.
Yeah.
You got to build this into your regular routine. And it doesn't have to be an hour. It could be 15 minutes. Like it just has to be part of your routine.
I try and do it in 20 minutes.
To build not only like, because the cool thing is you can mask a lot of team building activities with athleticism activities. Like you can build in, strength.
I can give you a great example of that right now if you want. Like one of my favorite ones to do is Connect 4 or tic-tac-toe, where I put the board 50 yards down. You got to run. I move the pieces away from the board.
Right.
Not only is it you're sprinting, obviously, all right, but you got to have your brain on, right? You get some interesting results with those.
You got to see. So we use a lot of Blaze Pod type work.
Yeah.
And it's so funny how so we'll do team Blaze Pods. Like we'll do like red versus blue. So 9 kids on a team. And then we'll say, okay, you want to see fights of kids? Then we'll say, I need your team of 9 and your team of 9. You got to pick your best 3 players because they're going to compete now for the team win. Kids are crying. Kids are fighting. And when you have highly competitive kids, this is what I love about team building, is that now you get to see who's going to fight to be the one that wants to be in the race. Right. Who's going to be the one that says, no, you take it. I'm good. Now, and again, there's nothing wrong with that. Could be your best player on the team. But most likely, it's not your best player on the team.
Right.
Most likely, it's the kid that will stand up at the end of the bench saying, I want to take the penalty shot. I want to take the shootout. I want to be on the ice for the power play. And you can start to build and see that. The earlier you can do that with your teams, the better your team's going to be, because now you can really start to think about who are my personalities? Who are the kids that I can count on? Who are the kids that are overconfident? Like the one kid saying, I want to be one of the 3. I'm like, you're literally the slowest kid in this whole state. like, are you kidding? Like, but but you need to see those things. And I think what the kids get to see is they get, again, it's probably not politically correct, and probably not everybody wants everybody to be equal. But the fact is, there are kids that are high performers. Like my example is this Brick kids, right? Whether you like 9-year-old elite hockey or not is irrelevant. These are the best kids in their group.
Yeah.
In the age group, but you can't deny it. They're really, really
they're very talented hockey players for their age. Yeah.
In order to get there, they're all like super competitive. Like they all think they're the best player, which is a really great thing to have. Whether it's true or not is irrelevant. They all do think that. And so now take that group and try to figure out, well, who is the alpha? Who is the leader? Who is the one that I can count on to bring all the other kids up? And who's the kid I know I got to look out for that's going to crush my team? And I think that's what team bonding and team building is for me.
Yeah.
And I think for anybody that wants, so I would use the book, the pamphlet, the core drills. And then if you love doing this and you like watching your team grow, you will then expand your own ability. And then like you asked about the question about our drill, that is made up like 2 hours before I went in there.
I love it.
We did this. Yeah. We did the same blindfold thing 3 times already with this kid. I need something a little different.
Yeah.
But I only have 25 minutes. So I can't reinvent the wheel. I can't spend 25 minutes.
You don't have to. Look, the best team building drills, the best, and I tell this to the players and the parents and the coaches, the best team building drills will uncover inconsistencies in the team cohesion. All right. Like if I do a drill and they can just do it right away, it's not a very good drill, right? The idea is to uncover, do you trust your teammate? Do you communicate effectively? Can you face adversity, Mike, to your point? Can you solve a problem? Or with older ages, there might not be a solution to the problem selecting. Can you deal with that? Right? There are some drills I have where you will not succeed. And I'm okay with that because the drill's not about succeeding. The drill's about how do you work together in this environment, right? For the Star Trek fans out there, we call that the Kobayashi Maru. You'll appreciate that if you're out there. Look, yeah. You brought up a great point. I'll end on this, Mike. I was very fortunate my freshman year to be a major part of a collegiate championship team. Okay. We were not picked to win. we were selected to be not even in the playoffs, and we won the whole thing. You mentioned before about remembering scores. I remember who we played. I remember each playoff round. I remember some of the points that I was part of. Don't necessarily remember the scores. What I do remember is in the preseason, in the freezing cold, right? Crawling through a football field of goose crap with a Marine yelling at me and the rest of the team to get down the field. I remember doing these team building exercises with this Marine. This is how I actually got into this field. Because those things that we did in the preseason, we did throughout most of the season, hardened us up as a team that no one was going to stop us. And I can tell you right now, when you're on the bench going in the third period of a championship game that's close, you don't necessarily think about tactics. You think about, I crawled through a football field of goose crap, which would be illegal to do now, in the freezing cold, and this other team didn't. And my brothers around me, or sisters, if you're on a girls' team or a co-ed team, did it with me. And I have a responsibility to them to win this game together. That's a power that you can't get if you don't do team building. All right? And in my experience, more often than not, it's going to put you over the edge. That is the difference. All right? And I will say this too. For the parents that are the naysayers, every top-level organization is doing this. Every single one of them. And it's starting to trickle down now to not top-level organizations. And I know that because I'm getting work with them, because they're finding out this is a way to separate themselves from the pack. All right? And you know what, Mike? The best thing I get is, even with some of the negativity I get back, the feedback from the kids and the parents is largely, and by largely, I mean almost all positive. I love these sessions with Coach Lee. I love what it does for our team, from the coaches, from the players. And again, please, folks, it's not me bragging. I take so much honor in getting those compliments, but I'm saying it because it clearly works. All right. So Elm Grove, Wisconsin. Thanks for bringing this up. By the way, if it was a bot, Mike, he wouldn't be from Elm Grove. That's not what he would just. It might be from Brooklyn, right? It might be Dennis. I'm just kidding.
Got it.
Right. But listen, great mailbag episode, Mike. Always love doing these with you. I'll remind everybody, we want to hear from you. Look, we've been very blessed that we have topics every week for 5 years. We know that's not going to stop anytime soon, but the show is for you. It's for the larger hockey community. So if you have questions, comments, topics, anything you want us to discuss, if you disagree with anything we said, that's fine too. Email us, team@ourkidsplayhockey.com, or click the link accompanying this episode in the show description. Text us with your name and email and phone number if you want us to contact you. And we'll do another mailbag episode. Mike, always an honor being with you, my friend. I appreciate you being here.
A lot of fun. Learned a lot today.
Both ways. All right, gang. You have a wonderful week. Enjoy your life. Enjoy your hockey. We'll see you on the next episode of Our Kids Play Hockey. Take care. We hope you enjoyed this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey. Make sure to like and subscribe right now if you found value wherever you're listening, whether it's a podcast network, a social media network, or our website, ourkidsplayhockey.com. Also, make sure to check out our children's book, When Hockey Stops, at whenhockeystops.com. It's a book that helps children deal with adversity in the game and in life. We're very proud of it. But thanks so much for listening to this edition of Our Kids Play Hockey, and we'll see you on the next episode.